All right, Napoli fans around the world, welcome to Napoli Talk. Guys, when is this Napoli gonna give us something to smile about this season? Apart from Zerbin turning into Maradona last week, there has been nothing to smile about, and it's not just in the results, but it's in the performance. And I think that today was one of the new lows. I'm not sure if this was actually lower than the game against Empoli or the game against Torino. I could probably name a few more from this season, but there this is up there. This is up there as one of the this is down there actually as one of the worst games that we've had all season long, guys. Look at the bottom photo, guys. 0-0, the score line, and the number underneath is the XG, the expected goals of the two teams. 0.47 for Lazio and 0.14 for Napoli. 0.14 xg for Napoli. Napoli fail to score away from home for the fourth game in a row. Obviously, we don't count the Super Cup as an away game. It's more of a neutral ground. It's um, it's a worrying stat, and I understand that there's a lot of absences. We've had Anguissa and Osimhen out for a long time. Simeone was unavailable. Kvara was unavailable. A lot of players in midfield. Kayust unavailable. We've talked about Zielinski's situation. Elmas has left. Compared to last year, we don't have Kim and Lozami. We know all these things. Nathan in defense. We know all these things. We've talked about it, but I really do feel that after 2 months of having Mazzarri, we still should be doing better than this. There should have been enough training happening in the last few weeks since Christmas onwards, in the last month, let's say, where we've not been playing Champions League football, for Mazzarri to give this team an identity. We we have not really got an identity, guys. We changed formation against Fiorentina. Okay, that went well. It kind of went well against Inter as well. But the problem with that three at the back slash five at the back formation is that it's good in a cup game. I expect us to maybe play that against Barcelona. I expect us to play like that in the Super Cup, where actually a draw is not a bad result because you either take something to the next leg, or if you draw, you go to extra time or penalties. In a cup game, I can understand why you want to be defensive. Especially if you don't really have a strong attack to rely on, you might as well double down on defense. I understand that in a cup game, but in the league, guys, in the league, I mean, look at where we are right now in the league. We are sitting ninth. Ladies and gentlemen, we are sitting ninth in the league. Now, most of these teams now have 21 games. Fiorentina has a game still to play. Some teams have 22. There's obviously a lot going on with people having done the Super Cup, with people playing later tonight and all that kind of stuff. So everybody's a bit on different games. But what's interesting is that from 4th until, let's say, 10th, we're all in the run for the Champions League. I mean, now even Torino are in this Champions League, let's say, run, or in this Champions League group, trying to make a run to get to that fourth spot. And we're more or less all at 21 games, so it's very comparable. Only Fiorentina's at 20. Let's assume that Fiorentina win their game. They go up to 37. They would go fourth. We're all between 37 and 31 points. So 6 points separating this group of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 teams. Napoli right now is at the bottom end of this group of 7, so a draw for Napoli is not a good result. Is not a good result. And that's why I would have loved to see a more attacking team. I do understand. I do understand, for example, as Temeto is saying, I do understand that maybe a draw could be a good result because the risk of losing or the idea of losing was very likely considering our form in recent months. And if we had lost, it would have been incredibly bad. Incredibly bad. But Lazio has just come off the back of a 3-0 loss to Inter. Lazio, they are not this incredibly talented team this year. Okay, maybe out of actually these teams in the fight for fourth spot, they're the ones in the Serie A with the best record so far. You can see, apart from this draw that they recently had with Napoli, they were off the back of 4 Serie A wins. Okay, and they were playing at home. So maybe a draw. Okay, maybe a draw is not a bad result, but I do also want to consider the fact that they did lose 3-0 against Inter. Inter did give us a playbook on how we could try to beat Lazio. And I'm I'm really not that upset actually about the draw in itself. I'm upset about how little we tried to win because look, there are teams out there that they play defensive football. All right? I mean, take a look at, for example, Man City versus Chelsea Champions League final 2021. You're up against one of the best attacking teams in the world. So obviously, Chelsea's Tuchel goes and defends, and then however, they don't just defend for 90 minutes because they know that eventually that's not sustainable. They try at some point to find a way to counterattack. When they do get the opportunity to counterattack, they go for it. The problem that I saw today, and we'll see it in the analysis, is that when we did have opportunities to counterattack, we simply refused to do it. So I guess a lot of you are not upset with the draw, and that's fine. I got a hair. A lot of you guys are not upset with the draw, and that's fine. But I am upset about the XG, and I am upset about some of the attitude when I think we did have the opportunity to go and attack Lazio, and we chose not to. And I don't mean that we need to bring all our guys forward for that attack. You can attack very efficiently with 3 or 4 players only, but we didn't do that. So that's something that I don't quite like in the way that we behaved. But let's go and read some more comments. In the meantime, guys, I would love it. I would really, really love it if you guys smash that like button and subscribe if you have not yet subscribed, because we need these likes more than ever in these difficult times. Maximus is saying either let Zelu go now or Burry so far on the bench no one sees him. He clearly doesn't want to be here anymore. One of the most boring games I've watched. Zielinski wasn't even the worst player on the field. I thought he was quite average. Yeah, I don't see his attitude as being that different from some of the others. I just feel like the energy level of everybody today on both sides was quite low. Anthony Jesus, I think Zelensky is one of the better players. In fact, that's how badly they played. So, I mean, not to spoil my player ratings, but that kind of goes more in line with my train of thought, actually. May have been one of the worst games of football I've ever watched. Guys, it was tough. It was a tough watch. It was a tough watch today. It was tough. Barely breaking the zero point 0.6 xg in total for the game, which is quite incredible. Georgie says, "Well, we fixed the problem with defending. Now we can't attack at all." And unfortunately, that's kind of the problem when you go too extreme in trying to fix a problem, right? I mean, this applies not only to Napoli but in many things. No, you have to try to fix problems without creating new ones, right? You never want to be doing that, and unfortunately, that's the situation that we're in now. I I don't know actually whether it's better to have a team that defends well and then you try to bring it to a more attacking place later, or you have a team that attacks really well but is leaking a lot of goals. I don't know which one is better or which one is tougher for a coach or which one a coach prefers to have. That's a very interesting point. But for example, let's consider another sport. Let's consider, for example, I watch a lot of Formula One. A lot of people say it's much better to have a guy that is pushing maybe 1% over the limit, and then you have to bring this person back 1%, rather than someone who's at 99% and then you have to get that extra 1%. They say it's much easier to, you know, reel people back. How that applies to football, maybe it's easier to, if you have a team that scores a lot of goals, maybe it's easier to shore up the defense, or maybe it could be the other way around. But I think that's an interesting question, maybe for Mazzarri, for someone to ask him. The problem with Mazzarri's press conferences is that a lot of the time they don't ask him very good questions. He didn't do any press conference before Napoli Lazio or Lazio Napoli. I guess he was still quite upset about the Inter game, and they probably would have asked him a lot of questions about the referee and the Inter game, so he avoided that. But I would like people to ask him these sort of questions, you know. But I don't think that's gonna happen. Um, Engonji is one of the few willing to create something instead of passing the ball backwards. Yeah, he does seem to have a bit of creativity. Obviously, we saw too little of Engonje. Paul Derican says we can't even count on a tough 1-0 to Lazio away or any sort of top four type encounter to overcome. Yeah, I mean, this is already though, as we said though, like this is already maybe somewhat of an improvement compared to maybe the Napoli Lazio that we saw earlier in the season that we lost. I do think actually this game was better than that one. That one was, the defending was really bad. But yeah, the XG, is terrible for us in this game. 0.14 going forward. That has to change. We cannot do something like this and expect to get fourth spot. This is damage limitation. This is maybe what you might do if you're at the top end of that top four race and you just don't want to lose. But we are at the bottom. We need to think about how we get points, how to win. Um, Having said that, yeah, we don't have the players maybe available to us, so that could be a bit of an excuse for Mazzarri. Let me get to Payman's comment. Thank you, man, for the donation. And Payman has to say, this is the only tactic Mazzarri knows. Pathetic for champions to play like this. He can't fix attacking even against weak teams. Zielinski was okay. Yeah, I agree. You know what's crazy? Not only the champions, but Lazio as well. Lazio, guys, is a team that finished second last year. It's incredible to think that these are two teams, the top two teams that Italy had to offer last year. And these two teams are not able to bring Napoli, are not able to show in this game any kind of positive football. And Lazio, guys, they lost Milinkovic Savic. Immobile is not fit enough this year, but they still have Sarri, and it's incredible to see a team coached by Sarri play like this. So that's quite surprising from Lazio's point of view as well, and I really want to know what their fans think about this as well, because they actually had, I think, an interesting mercato over the summer. I mean, Guendouzi, Kamada, all these guys, I thought they were promising. And okay, it's hard to replace Milinkovic Savic, but they're not bad players, the ones that they brought in. Um, why is AFCON in the middle of the season? So stupid. It's because it's too hot to play in the summer for them. So they have to play in the winter if they want to host the tournament in Africa. And they have all the right to host the tournament in Africa because it's AFCON. So, it's the rules of the game. If you don't want to be penalized by AFCON, then just don't buy players that are going to be playing in AFCON. That could be a strategy. That is a strategy that De Laurentiis has said that he might want to adopt in the future. I don't know to what extent I would do it. Um, what I would rather do is, yes, buy players that would go play in Af, but not only AFCON, but also the Asian Cup. But yes, buy those players, but have that in your project. Have that backup in your like, okay, Osimhen goes to AFCON. Great. Who's your backup? Fine. Okay, we have Simeone and Raspadori. That's more or less fine. But Anguissa goes to AFCON, and you, Napoli, don't have a replacement for Anguissa by the time he leaves for AFCON. We spent 1 month without a replacement for Anguissa, whilst we had Cayuste injured, Zielinski on his way out. We sold Elmas, Anguissa, AFCON. Like, this is what I mean by it's fine to get players that are in AFCON. AFCON is not the problem. The problem is your organization and how you're going to mitigate the fact that these players are in AFCON. Because a serious club that has vision, that has a plan, that has a strategy, that kind of knows what it's doing, they would have someone in before Anguissa goes to AFCON or as soon as he goes. I mean, Leipzig bought Elmas before the transfer window opened. Elmas was stuck at home for 2 weeks until the 2nd of January, until he could finally officially go. Why couldn't Napoli do a similar type of move knowing that Anguissa was going to go, knowing that Zelinski is not renewing? Knowing also that you sold Elmas, so you have the money and you know that one player out on the 2nd of January is official. Even if you maybe couldn't plan this back in November, you can at least plan this starting from the 25th of December when it was already announced that Elmas was leaving. The fact that it took 1 month to get Dendonker in on loan, a guy that doesn't even play for Aston Villa, like, what are you doing, man? Like, that took way too long. So there's a clear lack of planning that went in to this season in general. So yeah, Mike Lean says we literally missing our whole starting 11 pretty much. No Simen, no Kvar, no Anguissa, no Nathan, Meret, but I prefer Gollini, no Oliveira or Simeone. What do people expect? I think that is very correct. We are missing a lot of players. We are doing a lot without them actually. Beating Fiorentina in the Super Cup, getting a draw away at Lazio. If you consider it in that perspective, fighting until the last minute against Inter. If you consider it in that perspective, then actually it's not so bad. What I would say though is that regardless of which players are on the field, I would love to see a bit more attacking football. At least try, and we'll get to the reason why later, and I'll give you a concrete example later with the screenshots. Ciao Fabrizio says, hi Dom, how are you? Napoli is a defensive team in this season. We can also wait for new players and matches. Forza Napoli sempre. Yeah, now we have become a defensive team since we've played five at the back. Let's see, is this the new identity just until we recover the players? Or is this the identity that Mazzarri wants for this team for the rest of the season? That's going to be interesting. Payman Delgerson, both presidents only care about the bottom line, Lotito and De Laurentiis. And I think, one of the things that Payman, for example, always says on Twitter is that, Napoli is always looking to ways to cut costs and not enough ways on how we can spend more but have revenue increase by a greater margin than what we are spending. Basically, we just want to cut costs and increase revenues through, I don't know, shirt sales or whatever the case may be, but not through actual investing in something that will, yes, maybe cost you 50, 60 million, but could generate you 70, 80, like, hey, maybe a better sporting facility or a real top player in defense, yes, maybe that defender might cost you 50, 60 million, and I get it, you don't want to spend that for a center back, but my guy De Laurentiis, you do have the money and you do know how much a good center back can give Napoli, because we saw with Kim, we have the proof that with a good center back we can go and win Scudettos. So but he doesn't want to invest this much money unless it's for maybe a striker. De Laurentiis has always only wanted to invest for striker. He has limits with how much he wants to spend for every position. He said it once. He said, for a center back, I want to spend at most 20. For a full back, I want to spend at most 10, 15. He has limits based on how important he thinks that position is. For a midfielder, 30, fine. For a winger, 30, fine. For a striker, he's willing to go 40, 50, you know? But Osimhen was not 70 because he got 20 back. It was more or less 50. Higuain as well was more or less that, So he has limits to how much he wants to spend, and they're based on also what position it is. And I don't think he realizes how a good center back can actually influence the entire team. I think that hasn't quite resonated with him. Gusto says we need a center attacking mid. It totally depends on the formation, because, and I don't know if we need it, because I see Raspadori as a center attacking mid. I see Zielinski as a center attacking mid. I see Lindstrom as a center attacking mid. I feel like we have a lot of center attacking mids. I see Ngonja as a center attacking mid, and I even see at times Traore as a center attacking mid. I think we need to get rid of a center attacking mid, actually. We have too many. We have too many, unless we decide that we're going to change formation, we're going to play with a number 10, and then at that point, okay, let's see who we play. But right now, I think we have a lot of these center attacking mids and not enough places for them in the team, actually. So yeah, that's my opinion about it. I don't know if you guys feel the same way. Let me get to some earlier comments, guys, because I missed quite a few. I know we're talking a lot about some of the newer comments, but I wanna get to a little bit of everything. So let's see. Shots on goal 1-0. How is it possible? Yeah, 0 shots on goal. Same thing against Inter. What's good is that we didn't concede Lazio anything whilst playing away from home. So that was the only positive from this game. Let's see. Korean Bats, I just had 3 burgers and 20 chicken nuggets and chips. How are we doing, fellas? Yeah, you did good not to watch the not to watch the game. Giovanni Coppola, the last 6 games or so have been dreadful. Something isn't clicking. Not sure if it's the players' formation or management. The players look lost. Yeah, the only positive game so far has been that 3-0 against Fiorentina, where we took Fiorentina completely by surprise, and Zerbin hit his head and turned into a Super Saiyan and, scored 2 goals. But those are kind of like, those are random boosts happen because you give something new, like how we won the first game of Mazzarri against Atalanta. That was a new manager boost. Oh, we're playing a different way. Oh, there's a new thing. Oh, we're excited. Okay, boom, we win. Those things happen. That's why people have the term new manager boost. That's what happened against Atalanta. To some extent, that happened against Fiorentina, where we changed things up. But you can't change things up every game. The players just end up getting lost, and the effect has diminishing returns over time. So, again, today we changed it up slightly again, and, we got diminishing returns because the excitement level kind of goes down regarding the change. And also, it was a very defensive minded change, and if at least against Fiorentina, we had Kvara and Simeone up top that could give us something. Here, we didn't have anybody that could give us something. Let me get to Napoli Nation TV, Daniel Bowen. Thank you so much, man. For the 9.99 donation, says only 4 points from fourth. Not sure anyone in table third to 10th is more convincing than us overall. Therefore, a good result considering everything right now. Now, gotta beat Verona in convincing fashion. And I think the Verona game is so key because if we do beat Verona in convincing fashion, as you say, then you can justify drawing away from home against Lazio, maybe playing a bit more defensively. If then you're going to go and show who you really are against Verona and you show a more attacking sided team. But if you go to Verona and you play the same way, that's a problem. That's a real problem. Then then I don't know if we are the more convincing team, and I don't even think we are the more convincing team. I see Bologna and Atalanta and Fiorentina as maybe teams that have a bit more desire as well to break into that top four. It almost feels like Napoli is playing and they're bothered. They're bothered to play. They kind of gave it that little bit extra during the Super Cup because there was a trophy on the line. But now it's like, oh, what? The top four? No, that's below us. I'm not gonna put in the effort. It almost feels like that after they won the Scudetto. But that's not the mentality that's gonna get you far. Hafiz Yusuf, thank you, man, for the $5 donation and the sticker to keep it up. I certainly will, man. Thanks for your support. I really appreciate it, man. Let me know if you have any comments about the game, bro. Write to me. Write to me. I heard rumors about if we lose tonight, Adiel is gonna fire him. I don't know. I heard that rumor as well. Could that rumor have influenced how defensive Mazzarri was? And maybe he told himself, look, I'd rather just tie this game. I'd rather just draw, not risk going in attack because if I lose, I'm gonna get fired. But I really don't think Mazzarri is here to protect his job. Mazzarri is a finished coach. He knows it. His career's done. Even if he does super well with Napoli, he's not going to get the job next season. So I don't know what he has to gain by protecting himself. I always felt that Mazzarri was here because De Laurentiis wanted him here, and he felt that he could help this team, and he wanted to do a favor to a club that he loves, not because he's out there chasing a contract. It was very clear to him that this was not going to be a long-term thing. So does he really care about getting fired or not? I always felt that he cared more about Napoli than himself. But I don't know. Who do you think, speaking of coaches, who do you think is in pole position for the coaching job in the summer? So, guys, Mazzarri, obviously will leave. I would love Klopp, but Klopp, let the man breathe, as Uncle Sharma said. Let the man breathe. He said he wants to take a year out of football, and I think, that's a good, healthy thing for him to do, a bit like what Spalletti did. In that case, you have Conte, you have Mourinho, you have all that, but I don't know. I would love to see a new coach, a guy like Motta. I don't really like Italiano, to be honest, and his final, you know, his track record for the finals is incredible. It's he loses every competition he enters. Great, he gets there, but he loses a lot, and he bottled it against us in the Super Cup. So I don't rate him too much, to be honest. Palladino's an interesting one because I was impressed by Monza last year, but this year not as much. Um, so overall, I'm gonna say De Zerbi. De Zerbi would be an incredible coach for us. Obviously knows Napoli so well. He's an ex-Napoli player from here. He would love to coach Napoli, I think. I just wonder whether he's now going to be one of the main candidates for the Liverpool job. And if not the Liverpool job this year, then I think a club like Manchester City is going to look to him when Guardiola leaves. And so, does he want to sign a long term contract with a new club right now, or does he want to keep those options open for him? Super Alexander, welcome, man. Um, 30 million for Lindstrom with a pretty high salary. Yeah, the problem with Lindstrom, guys, is there. There is a problem with Lindstrom because okay, he didn't play bad today. But he played very little, and he's not able to find. Guys, we have so many people missing. We have Kvara missing, Anguissao, Simen, Elmas left. All these Simeone is missing, and Lindstrom still cannot find a spot in the starting 11. And even when there is an opportunity, he comes on as the fourth or fifth sub. So, what are we going to do about Lindstrom? What are we going to do about Lindstrom? He can't play for any other club this year because he already played for Frankfurt and he played for Napoli. So he's already at the limit with two clubs. So we can't sell him or put him on loan anywhere. But we have a serious issue coming up that by the end of the transfer window, we have to give to Serie A and the Champions League, UEFA Champions League, to UEFA, a list of the players that we want for the club to represent us. And we have too many players right now, actually, because we only sold Elmas and Zerbin went to Monza, but we brought in like four players. So what do? We have to sacrifice two players, and they're gonna be out of the picture. Are we gonna sacrifice Zielinski, who is already gonna go to Inter, or do we sacrifice a guy like Lindstrom, who it's very clear he's number 20 in the list of people that Mazzari wants to use. So the Lindstrom issue is a big problem. It's a big problem, guys. Every time I get the opportunity to counter, our players slow things down, says Lauriento. Yeah, and we will see that later. So I'm going randomly in the chat, guys, to pick up some comments. Michelangelo says good result without our starting 11. So there's two schools of thought. I do think a draw is a good result away from home. I also though think that the attitude was wrong, and I think that we had the opportunity to hurt Lazio if we really wanted to. I agree with Alexander that Golini should be a starter. He's very good with his feet and commands the box. Sevdan says we also didn't have many attackers available, so that could be why the very low XG. Hafiz says, after he donated, I said, give me your opinion, and he puts it in caps lock, and he says, I think there's a problem in the dressing room. And maybe there's problems in the dressing room between players. I think if you take a look at what happens behind the scenes, there could be problems because, for example, you have Osimhen, great player, earns 10 million, maybe a little bit too much, but fine. His release clause is 130 million or whatever, so it's calibrated to his release clause. So okay, Osimhen 10 million. And then you have Kvara 1 million. Okay, Kvara maybe. I'm not saying he also deserves 10 million because, it's only his second season. The number 9 typically earns more, but if you're going to give Osimhen 10, you have to give Kvara 4 or 5 minimum. And why is Demme getting 2.4 and he's never playing? And all these things about Zielinski coming in and going, and the guys that are under the Giuffredi agent, the Di Lorenzo, Mario Rui, Politano, they're all getting contract renewals even though it's not really necessary. we just re-signed this summer Raspadori, and we didn't have to give him an extension, and we gave him an extension and a boost in his salary this summer, even though he could have had the same salary as when we first got him last year. So, and maybe that upset Simeone because Simeone was in the same situation as Raspadori, and Simeone didn't get that same treatment. So maybe there is problems with the whole contract stuff in the dressing room. I'm sure there's many more situations like this. Ostigard, what are we doing with Ostigard? Today he was our best defender, Ostigard. And we've been speaking all winter about him potentially leaving. He wants more minutes. Gaetano, his agent, also says he wants more minutes. Lindstrom must not be happy. So yeah, maybe there is problems that the players are unhappy and how the contract stuff is going, but I don't know. I don't know. I mean, yeah, it is sad that they're gonna sell Ostigard because he is being one of our best, one of our best. Danny Formelo says no Conte. Conte would be nice, pero Conte would require some heavy investments. Otherwise, it's not gonna work. Is De Laurentiis gonna give him these heavy investments? I don't know. I don't know. So it's no point. It's like saying, I want to get Max Verstappen, and then you give him a Williams to drive, or it's like you got to give if you want the best, you also have to give them the best setup so that they can be the best, you know. Um, so yeah. Uh, The Zerbi has a 20 million release clause. No way ADL is paying that. That's a problem, the release clause. But I also think that Zerbi is waiting for the Liverpool or Manchester City job. He has so many fans in England. He's made a reputation for himself there that I think if he leaves the Premier League, he's gonna almost be forgotten. No, and so his best bet is to just stick it out with Brighton and then go to one of those clubs. What about Xavi? Xavi, it's an interesting one with Xavi because he did so well last year with Barcelona. They only conceded something crazy like 9 or 10 goals, maybe 14, but not more than 14 in the whole season. And then they've been they just lost 5-3 this weekend, 4-2 a few days ago, 4-0 against Real Madrid, or 4-1 or whatever that was. Like in 3 games, they conceded more goals than everything they've done last season, and he said he's gonna leave. So what's happening there? Is it the players? Is it the coach? How can a team change so much defensively one year to the other? That's a very big question. Um, and yeah, it's an interesting one. It's a very interesting one, and it's an even more difficult situation, that one, than ours, because ours, I feel like we know the problem. We know we don't have a good coach. We know that we're missing Kim. We know that we don't have a squad that has been planned out very well, because we talked about Anguissa leaving and we don't have anyone to replace him when he left for AFCON. So we know we didn't plan things well. When I see Barcelona, I don't see that. I see a team that shouldn't be that different from last year, and yet they are. Um, it's a strange one. It's a very strange one there. In Barca, it's definitely the players who are the problem. It's yeah. For example, they say Lewandowski. He's maybe not playing to the level that he was last year. He's obviously 35, 36 now. I'm surprised his decline would be so rapid, though. Usually players decline a bit more gradually or after some kind of injury, but it seems like Lewandowski this year just went completely down. I don't know if, though, that's his problem and it affects the entire team, or whether the team playing badly affects Lewandowski. I don't know. So that's going to be an interesting one. But um, yeah, hopefully I can get a video out on Barcelona in particular before the Champions League game, and we'll discuss all this. No Kvara, no win. Yes and no. I wish, man. I wish we play Kvara and we win, but this year we never win. We never win, guys. We never win. Doesn't matter who plays. Doesn't matter if it's Kvara or Simeone or whatever. Like we're just struggling so much this year. Um, I would love Xavi Alonso, but he's not going anywhere. Either he's staying at the Bayer Leverkusen, or he's going to Liverpool, or he's waiting for Real Madrid when Ancelotti finally does leave. I mean, Zidane would be an incredible one. Zidane would be incredible, but yeah. Ostigard has some crazy moments. I hope we don't sell him. I agree, 100%. 100%, guys. And yeah, let's not do what Roma does and bring players that are injured all the time, like Sanchez and Dybala and Lukaku. Like Roma, you can't build a team like that. And I really hope that we don't become that kind of club. And I hope that the players that we do buy are players that are always fit. And guys, okay, guys, speaking about always fit, do you guys know how many games Zielinski in 8 years missed? Very little. He missed a few when he got coronavirus, and then he missed in one season, like he got injured for like a period of maybe 3 weeks. That's pretty much how many injuries Zielinski had up until this season. Now, all of a sudden, this season, he's been injured a lot. I know he played today, but for example, against Fiorentina, he couldn't play because he was injured, and all these things. Um, so obviously, I don't believe in those injuries. I think they're fake. They're because they're having discussions about renewals, and they kind of wanna. They don't want to play him, but they had to today because we're in emergency. Kayust wasn't even available. Um, but the point is that I want to make is that Napoli won a Scudetto last year because we had a lot of players that did not get injured. I think Osimhen missing like 6, 7 games through injuries at the start of the season. That was the worst that we had. All the other starting 11 or the top 15 players that we had were basically never injured. So you can only build a team, a title winning team, with players don't that are not injury prone. And I think that's a trait that maybe gets underlooked a lot. And I hope that the players that we do bring in are not like this. And yeah, Ostigard played well. Let's go to the slideshow, guys. Let's see what happened in today's game, because I know you're dying to get an analysis on this. But having said that, there are not enough likes on this video, and that makes me very sad, guys. Makes me super sad that there's not enough likes on this video. So if you are watching on full screen, I know you're enjoying, the cinema experience, but minimize that screen, smash that like button, and then bring it back to full screen. So Fiorentina scored. That's a good thing. Then it was offside. That's a good thing. Good. Let's hope that they don't win today. Danny, I saw your comment. I know you retracted that comment, but I saw it. There we go. Let's get to 69 likes, boys. Let's do it. Let's do it, and then we can stop there. Um, I feel like Italiano would be the best bet, but I can't help but wonder if that ship has sailed. I really don't get the hype of Italiano, to be honest, guys. I really don't. Anyways, let's get to the analysis, guys. While you guys are smashing the like button, which is good. Um, which is good. You guys fall for my pity, You're very empathetic people. I love you. Very empathetic people. That's good. There's not many serial killers among my fans, which is a good thing. You guys actually have feelings, and you smash the like button, which is good. All right, let's get to the let's get to the analysis. So here's the thing about attitude, and I don't know if it's attitude of the players or whether it's Mazzari that set the team up this way. But what I didn't like is that too often we had the chance to play a riskier pass and we didn't. For example, in this case, Demme could enter that area of the field that I circled or squared, and instead what Demme does is that he drops back and receives the ball here. And look, in theory, that in itself is not a bad thing, right? Because it could open an entirely new angle then for Demme to play a pass that maybe Rachmani here didn't have, right? So Demme here has a different angle. But if Demme, you come out and you play as a center back and you expose yourself to a new angle, then someone from the midfield, whether that's Zielinski or whether that's Lobotka, has to then go in the space to receive the ball. But we see here both Zielinski and Lobotka, they are too late to read the situation and get into the space. So this then ends up helping nobody. It's just a backwards pass. So I'm not against the backwards pass, because sometimes a backward pass can open up a different angle. But if you open up a different angle and no one's there to receive the ball, what was the point? You just did a backward pass. So I that's the issue I think that Napoli had a lot in this game. Inter scored. That's good. So guys, I guess it's Inter Fiorentina, no? Inter Fiorentina. Lautaro Martinez scored. Good, good, good. We need to support Inter for this game, guys. I know they gave us a tough time last week, but we need to support Inter. Let's go to the next situation, guys. Okay, so here again, too often, we were just playing these sideways passes. Lazio didn't really press Napoli. They didn't want to open up many spaces, and Napoli was forced to just play the ball left and right. It was like this for a very, very long time in the game. But look, here's the situation, right? Here's what I mean. Okay, you're forced to do this, right? Play the ball left and right, and you have these four Lazio players that you're finding very difficult to put the ball through them. Okay? So this is where I get very frustrated, guys, because there was a situation later that Luis Alberto had the ball, he was attacking Napoli, and Zielinski or Lobotka, one of them, recovers the ball. So now we have Di Lorenzo, Zielinski, Lobotka, and Mario Rui in a very good position in front of the four Lazio players. That, again, we showed earlier, it was very difficult for us to pass through them because they didn't press Napoli. They stayed back, and we couldn't find the pass. My guy, once you are in this position, you have to go forward. Because the most difficult thing about playing against Lazio is getting past their first four players. After that, they don't have quality defenders. They have a very good pressing mechanism. They make it difficult to get the ball in the midfield, but once you are there, you have to attack. And instead, Napoli plays the ball backwards. They play the ball backwards. Zielinski sees two Lazio players come towards him, and instead of passing it to Mario Rui or Raspadori or Di Lorenzo, instead of taking a bit of a risk and saying, this is our opportunity, after 15 minutes of playing the ball backwards, he also plays it backwards. And now the ball is with Ostigard, and then we start the process of playing it between the defenders again and again and again and again. This is what I mean that, guys, Okay, we don't have many attacking players, fine, but the attitude could be different. The attitude could be different. Because in that situation, you could have played the ball forward. And I get it, we don't have Osimhen, we don't have Kvara, but maybe if you give Raspadori a chance, maybe something could happen, but you don't even give him the chance. So yeah, that was a problem. Yeah, I think that was a key problem for Napoli. Another situation, I think that was a problem when we played the ball between our three center backs, and we couldn't find a way in the middle to pass Lazio. Sometimes we would rely on Mario Rui or Di Lorenzo. We can't play down the middle, so we go wide. Now, when Mario Rui is in this position, guys, when Mario Rui is in this position, there's a very simple thing that you can do. You can pass the ball to Zielinski, and then Demme goes behind Guendouzi and receives it in between the lines. Did this ever happen? No. You know what happens after Mario Rui passes the ball to Zielinski? What happens? Demme, instead of going forward, goes even more back. And so it goes Mario Rui to Zielinski backwards, and then Zielinski to Mario Rui even more backwards. So, guys, the attitude of the Napoli players was that they did not want to attack. And for me, I cannot accept this. I cannot accept a Napoli team that does not want to attack. I'm not saying that you have to play risky, crazy football. I'm just saying there are moments in the game that you can hurt Napoli. You can hurt Lazio, and you didn't take it. Then, yeah, he is a reliable player. Didn't play badly. Didn't really show too much quality either, though. Uh, Guys, let me know, by the way, like if you guys like this analysis. Yeah, let me know. Let me know some feedback on this analysis, guys. And do keep me updated on the Inter Fiorentina game while this happens. Another situation here. I don't want to be repetitive, but we are in a situation where we have squished Lazio in their half because it's our throw in or corner or whatever the case was here. And instead of who is that? I don't know if that's Di Lorenzo. I think that's Di Lorenzo. Instead of Di Lorenzo playing the ball in the middle to Lobotka, and then using Napoli's skill to combine in short spaces between Lobotka, Politano, Raspadori, play those tight little 1-2s. What did we do? We played it all the way back to Rachmani. And then Rachmani plays it to Juan Jesus. And then Juan Jesus to Rachmani. And then Rachmani to Juan Jesus, And then we all get a bit of a tummy ache. So yeah, like we did not take enough risks, and I feel that there was spaces for us to play passes, to have little 1-2 exchanges, and we just didn't do it. So I'm not saying that we would have won the game like this. It's not like these are, oh my God, crazy opportunities. How could we, not do this? We missed the goal. It's not even that. It's just the attitude, the willingness to take risks. And if you guys remember my video where I compared Napoli this year versus last year, using Napoli Monza and Napoli Spezia of the two different years, the thing that I said is that, guys, athletically, we're the same. In terms of position on the field, we're the same. What's changing compared to last year is the percentage in risky passes that we take. We are not making enough risky passes. And unfortunately, no risk means you get no reward. And today, we didn't get the reward, unless you think a draw is a reward. Feedback, we love the analysis, Dom. Thank you, my guy. Thank you. Um, Apart from the whole like tactical attitude, mental analysis, guys, I think something that this year is really missing from Napoli is just a little bit of quality. Because, for example, here, Raspadori passes the ball to Zielinski. Zielinski has so much space potentially for him to receive the ball, maybe shoot first time, and instead the ball gets played behind Zielinski. And these two players just don't, they don't understand each other. Um, Difficult to know if it's Raspadori that messed up the pass or Zielinski that made too much of a run. If we take a look back, it's hard to tell, right? You don't know if it was one or the other, but it's like either way, someone messed up. Someone messed up, and there wasn't chemistry between them, and that's annoying, and that's difficult to swallow for a team that looked like it was so well trained last year. And maybe that's the problem, is that we think that these players are like FIFA, like you're an 88 player and that means that you're always 88. And in reality, it's not. You have to be training at that level to play at this level. And if you're not getting the right training, if you're not training well, if there's no chemistry in training, then maybe this stuff happens. And that's kind of the problem. But again, here, even in a less tense situation or in a situation that has less dynamicism, here, Juan Jesus messes up this very easy pass to Rachmani, and he puts it in between Rachmani and Ostigard, and it forces Rachmani all the way back there, and then he has to pass it back to Gollini. But just take a look at Rachmani's position here. Like, consider what Rachmani's position says about about Napoli. I think he's too far back. I think Rachmani in this situation should already be closer to the blue line that I drew compared to where he is now. Because it means that when he receives the ball, he then is already that 10 meters more in front, where it puts pressure on Lazio, and you could almost think that you would already be closer to getting past the first line of defense. But if you receive the ball where Rachmani is now, to get the ball from there to one of the midfielders, the distance is too much. It's too much distance. Guys, there's a big difference between passing the ball 7 meters and 5 meters. It's the difference between getting the ball intercepted or not. And I think that distance between Rachmani and the midfield is too much. It's too much. Kim would never have received the ball in that position. Never. Kim would be somewhere along that blue line, where the blue line intercepts the center circle. That's where Kim would be standing. And you might think this is stupid because we're talking about 2 meters. But 2 meters, guys, makes a difference. It changes everything. Do we have the same stuff as last year? No. Everyone changed. Everyone changed. It's completely different. It's completely different. So yeah, that's kind of one of the major issues. Then just the last thing I want to show you is this, just because it's funny. At least something funny happened in the game. Orsato getting some spray on his bum. Uh, if you're immature like me, then you find that funny. So at least that happened. Let's go, guys, now to the player ratings. And first impression, this kind of looks weird, this formation, but that's how I interpret it. Some people were saying 3-4-3. Some people were saying 3-5-2. Whatever the case is, um, I saw it as a 3-4-1-2, sometimes even as a 3-3-3-1-2. Um, so it really depends. Sometimes a 5-3-2, like you can really put it however you like. It's kind of hard to know. It's a bit fluid. No, it depends on the situation, but whatever. Just let's just assume that this was the formation with Zielinski playing a bit more in front of the other guys. Um, Again, I think this formation with these five at the back really penalizes the attackers. Against Fiorentina, we had Cavara and Politano with bad scores. Against Inter, we had them and Simeone with a bad score. And now against Lazio, we have Raspadori and Politano with bad scores. Because unfortunately, how can I give these guys a good score if we didn't see them? I feel bad though. I feel bad because they didn't maybe get the opportunity to do anything. So maybe it should just be a 6 out of 10. I don't know. It's very hard for me to interpret attackers when we have such little service being given to them. Um, but yeah, maybe the reason why I went a bit more on the negative route is because maybe they could have done more to help out in the midfield to try to help Napoli link up the play. So, for example, I don't know, guys, like you take a look at Harry Kane when he plays, he comes down to the midfield and helps out and all that. And I feel like Raspadori could be doing a bit more of that, coming down way deeper. And helping out like that. The rest of the team, to be honest, didn't play that bad. They didn't screw up much. I didn't like Mario Rui. Sometimes his interventions were a little bit, borderline. Missed like, the ball he lost it quite a few times. But overall, I think considering that this is the first time they play in this formation, the first time they some of these people play in the Serie A in a very long, like Demme first start in Serie A in like 2 years. Considering all those kind of things, I think they did okay. And then Ostigard and Lobotka were the best. Lobotka was the one that was breaking up a lot of the Lazio plays, especially in the first half. I think he had three interceptions in the first 15 minutes only, which really helped Napoli. And Ostigard, he was very dominant in the box. Even at the end, the final corner of the game, 95th minute, Golini kind of misses the ball, and it's Ostigard that clears it on the line. So Ostigard did well, and it's worrying to see that the best player at times for us in this defense is someone that is the closest to being excluded. I don't know what kind of planning Napoli is doing, guys. I know they want to get Perez in. Perez, I don't think he's a huge improvement from Ostigard. I don't see it, honestly. I don't see what he brings. And Perez, look, guys, I'm not the tallest guy, so don't think that I'm discriminating against short people because I'm short. But Perez is not that tall, and we don't want that. We don't want that in center back. We want tall people as center back because Napoli is already the shortest team in Serie A. It's already the shortest team in Serie A. So at least for our defenders, let's get some tall ones. At least for our center backs, because otherwise we will go to defend corners with people that are always 10 centimeters shorter than the others. And we have Ostigard, who's the only one that can win a header. And we're thinking of getting rid of him for a guy that's 10, 15 centimeters shorter than he is. I mean, I don't wanna, I don't wanna hate on short people, but I mean, it's a key position. Like height is a key position. It's a key trait in this position. You need to be tall. Rahman, I mean, unless you're Cannavaro was 1 meter 76. Fabio Cannavaro, which is like 5'7" for those listening from America, and he could win every ball. But Cannavaro had timing and a huge jump. But particularly he had timing. He could read very well the situation. Rachmani doesn't have timing. Juan Jesus doesn't have timing. Nathan neither. So you need at that point top. Perez doesn't have that kind of timing either. So I don't know. I don't know if it's worth it. The one thing, and that Mazzari did say is that people say Ostigard is so good at headers, but they only consider his attacking headers. But when it comes to defensive headers, it's a bit different because when you attack the ball, for example, if someone's crossing the ball, then all you have to do is what you have to do is the opposite of when you defend. You have to get away from your marker and you have to follow the flight of the ball and head it. When you are defending, it's the opposite. You're not trying to get away from your marker. You're trying to keep your marker close to you, and instead of looking at the ball, you have to look at the man more than the ball. You have to have one eye on both. When you are in the attacking position, you have both eyes on the ball and you just make movements to get rid of and confuse the defender. So two very different skill sets. And what Mazzari said in one of the earlier press conferences of the year was that yes, Ostigard great at heading the ball, but in attack. Let's see how he is in defense. Me personally, I think that he's also decent at doing it in defense, but Mazzari doesn't think that way. Uh, Vincenzo Bertillo, first of all, thank you for the 13.99 dollar donation. So sorry I'm late to the stream. I fell asleep. That must have been a good nap, man. Probably fell asleep 5 minutes into the game. Um, our best defensive header is Osimhen. LOL. Yeah, Osimhen. See, for example, Osimhen, great at defensive headers. Great at that. Well, great at both, to be honest. Isn't Perez 6'1"? He's 184 centimeters. It's not short. I'm not saying he's short, but I'm saying because we need a new center back, this is a great opportunity for us to put more centimeters into this team, which is already the shortest on average in the Serie A. So I would love to see us go for someone that's above 190. I mean, consider Rachmani is 190. So he's losing 6 centimeters compared to Rachmani. Kim was like 192, 193. Going from Kim 193 to Perez 184, it makes a difference, guys. It really does. Um, when it comes to winning headers and all that. I mean, when you have a guy like Giroud, who's a master of the header, do you want someone who's 190 or 184 against him? Because those 6 centimeters matter. Um, Mike Xstat says, I'm okay with stopping the bleeding. $2 donation, man. As always, thank you so much. I appreciate you guys. Appreciate you guys donating. So yeah, yeah. Stop the bleeding. 0-0. But as we said in the analysis, in the screenshots, there were moments where we could have done more with our attitude and been more aggressive and see let's at least once test the Lazio defense. And I think that's a difference between how we played and how, for example, I don't know, like I don't mind defensive minded teams. For example, Italy 2006, defensive minded. Honestly, you take a look at that game against Germany. No, we talked about Fabio Cannavaro, so now I have that in my head. Take a look at that game. We were playing solid defensive football, but what's the difference? Is that when we had the opportunity to counterattack, we went and we counterattacked. This Napoli team did not want to counterattack. Maybe Dendoncker can play center back. At least he's huge. LOL. Yeah, Dendoncker is. We didn't see much of him. We saw like 5 minutes or something, but he seems like he's got the right energy, and I think that's what you get from Premier League players. I mean, we saw Anguissa wasn't super rated in the Premier League. Comes to Serie A, absolutely dominates. Even in Dombele, right? He was a Tottenham reject, comes to Serie A, didn't dominate, clearly, but you could tell that in the moments that he was fit, which is like not very many, in the small moments that he was fit, he did have a different energy about him, different different step about him than some of the other players in Serie A. I felt that today a little bit with Dendoncker. He's not even fully fit yet, but you could tell that he had that. In Italian, we call it lo strappo, like the that quick, just out of the blocks kind of lightning movement. Not necessarily like sprint like Osimhen, but just that like first three steps to get away from your man that I think you need in the Premier League. That's a skill that you acquire, I think, over there. And then Donker has it, which I'm happy with. But whether he can play center back, let's see. I think we need him more at this point as a defensive mid or as a midfielder in general. But yeah, let's see. Get Shaquille O'Neal at center back ASAP. Yeah. Right, guys, let's go to Mazzarri's press conference. Let's see what he had to say. Make sure that you are still smashing the like button if you have not already done so. And let's see what Mazzarri says. So, Mazzarri says, well, they ask him, "Are you satisfied with the result, with the performance?" And he says, "I'm happy because I saw a team with the capital T. In Italian, it wouldn't be team with the capital T because it would be squadra with a capital S, but I am translating. This is a team that is very balanced with their ball possessions. Having more ball possession than Maurizio Sarri is a lot. Guys, I can't believe Mazzarri is saying that just because we had more ball possession, it means it's better. We had point 0.14, 0.14 xg. For me, ball possession is meaningless when you don't put it into context. The ball possession that we had was the ball possession that did not produce anything, anti-football. So I'm not happy with how this press conference is starting out, guys. I'm not happy at all with the attitude he's shown in the game and in this press conference. That's why I didn't give him a high score in the ratings either. Anyways, he continues. We dominated possession. I was very happy for guys like Demme, who in particular, who had a great game. I saw a lot of great things. We could have done maybe more going forward, but they are very fast players, and it was difficult for us without Osimhen and Kvara. It was difficult because those are the players that give us depth, and we didn't have that with Raspadori. We are in a very particular moment in a team in the team with the team, and we had a very good team in front of us. Let's not forget that Lazio finished second, but Mazzari, let's not forget that we finished first, 15, 16 points above these guys. We in the last period we recovered the compactness of this team. Now we see what it really means to be a team, and let's use this compactness going forward. And they ask him, did you expect all these difficulties from the first two teams of last year in the Serie A this year? And he says, when you are at the top unexpectedly after many years, it's not easy to win again. But many things happened, a lot of injuries, a lot of players coming and going. For example, Oliveira, as soon as I arrived, got injured. It's never easy to repeat yourself. But we found again a good Napoli. There have been moments in this game, or in this period, sorry, in this period that I've been here, that we were less of a team, but there was a lot of determination to go back to become a team. He keeps reinforcing this. We went and recovered the ball very well. That's true. Lobotka did super well today recovering the ball. And we just need something now going forward. They ask him, could Ngonja have come on a bit earlier? And he says, I had a very good sensation about Ngonja when he came on. He came from a team that's not used to being at the top. It's normal that after seeing him only for 3 training sessions, he was a bit of a question mark for me. But in the future, probably he will have a more serious game time than this. But then this brings me the question: this Mazzarri, you Mazzarri, if Engonja after 3 training sessions has more minutes than Lindstrom, then what is the problem with Lindstrom? And if you think that this Engonja kid is gonna have even more minutes than what he's had today, do you see him as being potentially, your first backup, kind of like what Elmas was for us last year? Or even as a starter, do you see him taking over Politano's spot? If that's the case, then we really need to ask ourselves what we do with Lindstrom this summer, because then it would be yet another time that he gets uh, taken over by another one of his teammates. And I mean, now the list becomes quite long, because if we consider everyone that is above him in the hierarchy, we can start with Politano, we can go down to Raspadori, Elmas while Elmas was here, even Zerbin, and we're talking about Zerbin before he hit his head and became a Super Saiyan. We're talking normal Zerbin. Zerbin started against Monza while Lindstrom was on the bench. So this guy is in trouble. He's in a lot of trouble, Lindstrom, and I don't see how we can recover from this, honestly. I don't see how we can recover from this. It's not a matter of, oh, he just needs a bit more time. I really don't think the coaches rate him. They don't see it. If Garcia and Mazzarri don't see it, then I don't trust them to be like the greatest coaches ever, obviously, for obvious reasons. But even two, let's say, bad coaches, you'd think at least one of them sees talent, you know? Um, if neither saw talent, then that's tough. That's tough. Any thoughts about our new Kaka, Popovic? Yeah, Popovic excites me. Really, really excites me because he does have centimeters. He's tall. He's 190. You guys are gonna think I'm obsessed about this, but it's important. Same how Kvara. I love Kvara because he's a tall left winger, and that's important because we went from Insigne to Kvara, and that makes a difference. Some of Kvara's best contributions have been goals with his head. The winner against Atalanta this year, his first goal against Verona, both with head, and they're important goals in his career and for Napoli. Um, it's something that a short winger maybe cannot give you. So having height is important. Popovic has height, so good. Um, he's like 1 meter 90, 1 meter 91, so like 6'4" or something like that, something crazy. And he's got skill. He's got really good skill, and he's got that just from his face. He's got that attitude that I don't think he I don't think he will, suffer from things like pressure too much. But this is just pure vibes that I'm reading from him. So nothing scientific. I'm not a psychologist, but that's good. Someone that's kind of cold-blooded. He feels like he's a shark. I get good vibes from him, and he's talented. He's young. Manchester City wanted him, Bayern wanted him, Milan wanted him. So clearly the talent's there, and yeah, let's see where he fits into this Napoli team, honestly, because he's in a position that, again, it's a center attacking mid slash second striker. Let's see. If we play 4-3-3, he could struggle to find space. If we play with a 4-2-3-1 or a 4-3-2-1, then maybe he finds space. So let's see. But we don't know until we have the new coach. So yeah. Our typical 4-3-3 team, including Osimhen and Anguissa, isn't really short at all. Only Politano and Lobotka are short. The problem is that we have Mario Rui as well. Meret is not super tall. So we do have some short players. Yeah, we're not the tallest, and that's a bit of a problem. But then again, these are all fine margins. I do want us in this positions that I think at least where height is important, that we do get players that are tall, and that's why I'm a bit skeptical about Perez, to be honest. Anyways, anyways, guys, let's see what Fiorentina are doing. Let's see. How can I do that? Maybe I can go here and click on Fiorentina. Halftime between them. Let's see the stats. Seems like Fiorentina have most of the possession. A lot of shots. I guess they have to recover the game, no? So it makes sense. They're playing at home as well. Let's see what the commentator says. Not even there yet. Usually there's like a comment here about what happens, like a summary of the first half, but there's nothing. Anyway, so that's Fiorentina. Inter. Let's see the table one last time. If it stays like this, Inter have a chance to pass Juventus and they have a game in hand as well. And then obviously this is great for us in terms of the top four run because it would stop Fiorentina from going to 37 points. So it would mean that we would only be 4 points behind Atalanta instead of 5 behind Fiorentina. So that's very interesting. But what I think is interesting is that this is a very, very, very low quality top four. I mean, the points per game of Atalanta. Let's do that. 36 divided by 21 is 1.7 points a game times 38. That's 65 points average. So right now, to get to the top four, you need 65 points. That's the projection. That is super low. Super low. There has been times when Napoli has had 70 points and we didn't get top four. I think that was the one with Gattuso. So this shows the level, guys, of these teams. So yeah, and yes, thank God we beat Atalanta. Thank God that was an important game. That was super important. Now, guys, let's go back and look at who we have next. Our next games we have Napoli, Verona, quite important, but Milan, Napoli, and Napoli, Genoa. Napoli, Genoa. Now that's key as well because Genoa, okay, they're not in the top four race, but they're not a bad team. So we don't have to underestimate them. But honestly, guys, like in these next 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, in these next 5 Serie A games, if we don't win 4, we're in trouble. If we don't beat Verona, Genoa, Cagliari, and Sassuolo, we're in trouble. These are teams that we need to beat. To be a top 4 team in Italy, you have to beat Verona, Genoa, Cagliari, and Sassuolo. I mean, Genoa and Cagliari are 2 teams that are new to the Serie A. Sassuolo and Verona are having a bad season, 15th and 16th. Cagliari 18, like we're playing against 15, 16, 18, and okay, Genoa 11th. those 4 out of 5 games we have to win. Then if we lose against Milan, that's fine. That's fine. We can lose against Milan. That's not a problem. But especially away from home. But these ones, the Napoli, Genoa, Cagliari, and Sassuolo, we have to absolutely win. Absolutely win, guys. Um, if we don't win those games, I think we can say goodbye to the top four. Honestly, we could say goodbye to the top four. I'm gonna wrap it up here, guys. It's been an absolute pleasure having you guys on this stream. I hope you enjoyed it. The draw is good and bad at the same time. Good and bad at the same time. It totally depends on the next few games. In the context of the next few games, if we can win them, then this looks like a good, healthy draw that can kind of be like, okay, we're in first gear, we started the car and now we can drive. If we draw here and then lose to Verona, then it's a whole different narrative. But yeah, guys, that's the end of the live. I'm hungry. I'm very hungry, so I'm gonna go. But hopefully this week, guys, I have a week off this week, so I wanna first of all do a video with all the winners of the Napoli Talk Predictor games that have been participating and have won the last few weeks. And then I also want to do I'm gonna try to do some cool things for the channel, see if I can like change things up a little bit, give it a bit more pizzazz, and bring some new features, maybe. If not, then that's for something to do later on. But I'm cooking. I've got some things that I wanna bring. So, and I think you guys will like them. So let's see how that goes. Anyways, guys, with that, I will leave you, and as always, Forza Napoli sempre. Ciao.